rise in body or spirit for the opening hymn, number 124, Be That Guide. It's in the gray hymnal, and it will also be projected on the front wall. Be that guide whom love sustains, rise above the daily strife, lift on high the good you find, help to heal the hurts of life. Be that helper, nothing daunts, doubt a friend or taunt a foe, ever strive for liberty, show the path that life should go. Be that builder, trusting good, bitter though the test may be. Through all ages they are right, though they build in agony. Be that teacher, faith directs, move beyond the old frontier. Though the fright and fear that faith be tomorrow's pioneer.
Good morning. It's good to see you all. Hey, has anybody ever gotten a call from a phone scammer before? Yeah, a couple of us. That guy was getting those calls this week, and the phone scammer was calling me, and I knew the guy. He called again, and I knew it was a phone scammer, and he says, "How are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm worried. I'm worried about you." And I was serious. I was speaking from the heart, and I was saying, "I am so sorry that this is how you have to make your living, and I hope that you can find something better for your life, because this must be hard to have to do this." And then I hung up. But this is a place, so I just wanted you to know that if you are a phone scammer, you're welcome here this morning. But we hope you'll find a better way in the future. This is the place where we all come to think about our lives and do find a better way. So I'm really, really glad you're here today. It's kind of a cold February day. I sure wish we had some hot soup after. We do. We have hot soup after the service today. It's going to be great. Plenty of good food after the service. We'll get a chance to have fellowship and all of that. So that's going to be wonderful. I look forward to that. And I just thought that we have so many wonderful new people coming in after the pandemic that I just want to take a moment to just say, would you guys introduce each other? Because I hate it if somebody came and just felt like they were ignored. So please just take a couple of minutes to look around and warmly greet those around you. And then we'll get back to the regular service. Yeah. Oh, thank you for doing that. Thank you for being so warm and welcoming to each other. And after the service today, we'll continue our conversation. So I look forward to that too. So thank you all for the gift of your presence. I really enjoy seeing all of you. Thank you.
How do I love thee, let me count the ways, by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Let us say our affirmation together. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. Build a community of caring fellowship. Nurture the hopes and serve the needs of our world. Today, we light the chalices for one of our beloved members who passed away Thursday, Lorraine Stewart. She has been here at the church way longer than even our own Ranger, Reverend Rick here. She's played piano. She helped write the lyrics for The Flame into Life. And she was a love and light to all that she's shown on. Her service information will be given later. So we'd light that for Lorraine. The second chalice we always light for our partner church in Šimenfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And the third we'd light for our children and youth, both in lifespan religious education as well as the world at large. May the light of these chalices guide us in recognizing the light in our heart and to spread that light throughout the world. Please join me in singing The Flame into Life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Hello? Okay, as you can see, I'm a great shapeshifter because I am not Molly. Emily actually still has strep throat, so she can't be with us today. Is this on, or am I just not loud enough? All right, real quick
Nice and slow.
announcement, actually. The youth group would like you to know we do have a youth group, and we have a beautiful new room for you. It's the blue room right down the hall. If you're going towards where we do LRE, swing a quick right, and you will see it. We got it all ready for everybody. Ben and people like Miss Celeste and Lonnie are helping us run a beautiful youth group, so please, everyone is welcome to join us. That is 6th grade and above? Yes, all right. So with that said, can I have everybody young and young at heart please come join me up here? I'm going to do things a little differently today. Because Molly has the book, but she sent it to me via text. Gotta love technology. Yeah, that's okay. It's new. Look at all the new faces, I love it. All right, so this is new for me, so I apologize ahead of time. This is called Rhino Corn, because this month we are celebrating love and loving yourself and loving who you are, no matter the differences or all of the above. Yeah, this is not going to be easy on my phone, so I'll just read it this way. I am ready. Riley believes with all of her heart that you cannot tell her and her best friends apart. She has a cool tail, 4 legs, and a horn. In Riley's view, she's a unicorn. Oh. Her meals are all made of pink lollipops, fizz sherbet tea, and sweet candy drops. When racing down rainbows, she knows she will win. She plummets straight down with a big cheesy grin. Whee! One day, as Riley was skipping along, she bumped into someone who looked strong and tough. Her eyes opened wide and she let out a scream. "You're the most giant unicorn I've ever seen." Big Rocky laughed as he boomed. "That's not true. I'm not a unicorn. Neither are you. We're rhinos with 4 legs for stomping around. Oh no. Our tails swat at flies and our horns dig the ground." Riley thought none of those things sounded fun and decided to show Rocky how things were done. "Our unicorn horns are the coolest of things. We use them in games to catch sweet donut rings." This is ridiculous. "Our unicorn tails are not what they seem. With a magical flick, they make rainbows that gleam." Amazing. He's coming around. "Our unicorn legs are for dancing ballet. First point your toes, then try a plie." All right. With all that in mind, I think you'll agree that we are as unicorns can be. I'm a ballerina. Look, you can't. Oh, I never read this book. This is fancy. Rocky heaved and he hawed and he scratched at his head. I think that you're something brand new, Rocky said. You look like a rhino with legs, tail, and horn, but you've shown me today that you're a rhinocorn. Half rhino, half unicorn, that's what you are. You are true to yourself, which is better by far. Rocky said, I had so much fun playing with you. I think that I might be a rhinocorn too. Would you like to stay with us? Riley and Rocky then lived happily, being as rhinocorn as rhinocorns can be. Oh, and then also, we are doing a Hamilton movie slumber party night on February 18th. Ben would have a lot more information about that than I. So I think it'd be wonderful. I personally have never seen Hamilton, but I hear it's amazing. I know. Sorry, Lily. But yeah. So if we could all get together and perform the Love Arch, I would greatly appreciate it.
Take a deep breath and just enter into this moment of time, being with the breath in this present moment. Consider your life. You are suffering in one way or another. We all are. Perhaps you're worried. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you're in physical pain. Maybe you have experienced a heartbreaking loss. All of us suffer, and all of us love. Can you love yourself? Be aware of the suffering that you're going through right now. Be aware of it, the worry, the anxiety, the sorrow. It's hard. So can you be kind to yourself? You deserve kindness. Be kind to yourself. And then your kindness will be grounded in your compassion for other people. For all of us are suffering, and all of us can love and show our compassion to one another and to ourselves. Compassion is our way. And gratitude. May we be mindful not so much of the exotic, the exciting, the expensive things that we might be able to do in our lives, but let us be aware of how extraordinary the ordinary is. The enormous value of each moment. Being alive, being with others whom we love. Such a gift. Such a gift. And we are grateful. compassion, and gratitude. That is our path. May it be so.
Good morning. I'm George Pitter, your Lifelines lay minister this morning. The Lifelines lay ministry assists the minister in providing compassionate caring to members of our congregation. We also connect with those who are homebound, and we endeavor to provide a welcoming presence to visitors. And today we're going to have our compassionate connections, and if you think you need a little extra support, come on up front right after the service. I have some joys and concerns to read here this morning. First is a concern from Francine Leckie. Please send positive thoughts and prayers for my son Jeremy, who is struggling with addiction. Thank you. And a concern from Davida Curtis, my friend Jen in Arlington, Massachusetts, whose husband just passed away. And we have two joys. First, from Joan and Jim Stembridge. We thank each member of the UUCS Good Neighbor team for your dedication and compassion in supporting your Afghani refugee family. Your support made it possible for the family to move into our rental home yesterday. May the family now thrive, inshallah. Sincerely, Joan and Jim. And a joy entered by Vicki Cunningham. Amelia and David Bray Meehan are pleased to announce the arrival of a baby boy, Udonadin James, on January 24th, 2023. And we'll light one last candle for all the joys and concerns that weren't shared this morning. Thank you.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be well.
This is from The Cloud of Unknowing, written the later half of the 14th century, translated by William Johnson. This is chapter 3 on the work of contemplation and feeling the interconnection between all beings. There are passages of chapter 3, and some of the wording has been modified to potentially touch the modern UU heart with ease. This is what you are to do. Lift your heart up to the great sacred mystery with a stirring of love, desiring the connection for its own sake and not for its gifts. Center all your attention and desire on the sacred mystery, and let this be the sole concern of your mind and heart. What I am describing here is the contemplative work of the Spirit. When you have fixed your love on the sacred mystery, the whole world, the whole universe seems to hasten to assist you in every way, though others may try and thwart you. And yet you diligently persevere until you feel the joy in the contemplation. In the beginning, it may feel like a cloud of unknowing. The feeling of love you first felt may go away. Frustration and darkness may follow. But through learning to be comfortable in the dark, the light of love and connection starts to shine through. And with it, the love connection of the great sacred mystery and you, bringing yourself to a deeper experience than you have ever had before.
Power. In my mind, it's not had a very good reputation. It seems like it kind of brings out the worst in us, doesn't it? The way we fight for it, hoard it, selfishly exercise it. The obsessive quest for power, in one form or another, serves to diminish and distort one's humanity. And you know, when individuals, and a lot of individuals do, have disproportionate power, whether it's political or financial or psychological, it often proves to be a recipe for disaster for the common good. The history of humankind is one long chronicle of the powerful defeating and oppressing and even exterminating the less powerful. Too often power is exercised in this way out of cruel and thoughtless habit. It's just the way things have been done and will continue to be done. Consider the case of the ancient Indian emperor, Mauryan emperor, they called it back then. The region of India was the Mauryan Empire. In 268, 232 BE, they had an emperor named Oshaka. And he was in the empire building business because his father and his grandfather had been emperors, and it was expected that he would follow in the family business, and so he did. One of the routine jobs of being an emperor in those times was putting down uprisings. Indeed, you can find there's an edict that's carved on a monument from this time, way back when. It testifies that when Oshaka was ruling in the Kalingan province on the east coast of the empire, Oshaka's forces killed 100,000 men, and a greater number was taken into captivity. Loss of life was bad enough for the Kalingans, and this deportation of able-bodied men, even more salt in the wound. But the lesson was clear. If you messed with Oshaka, you would suffer. He was the emperor. He has all the power. That was the reality of things. During this time in his life, Oshaka came into contact with Buddhist teachings. Buddhism had been around for about 2 centuries by this time, but it hadn't spread very far. And these teachings invited Oshaka to look at the reality of the life and death around him, observing how one thing causes another, and so on and so on. And so Oshaka observed his own life and the life and death of those around him in the Kalingan province, all the untold suffering his conquest had caused, including the women and the children. And he looked at it all. He looked at the devastation that he had caused. And it was a sickening sight, as you could well imagine. It was a sickening sight, and it brought Oshaka to a sickening realization. He had caused the suffering. It was on him, and he knew it. This is what power gets you, see? You can never have enough, and the lust for more power had led Oshaka to bring untold suffering to so many people. But now something happened. Now, thanks to the wise guidance of Buddhist teachings, Oshaka, he had a spiritual awakening. It's not unlike the British slaver John Newton. You may have heard the story of John Newton. He became aware of the untold suffering he was perpetrating through the slave trade. And he became an abolitionist. And he wrote a hymn you may have heard, Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. Last time we heard, I think, Amazing Grace, Lorraine Stewart was playing it. I don't know if you remember that Sunday. Lorraine was pretty far gone by this time, but she was a great pianist, and she knew she was supposed to play something, and she played Amazing Grace for us. And she didn't know to stop. She just kept playing over and over. And it was something special about that. And so let's remember the last time we heard Lorraine play, she was playing Amazing Grace, just over and over. Remember that? That was such an incredible thing. But in a Buddhist context, Oshaka had his own Amazing Grace transformation. And now he recognized, as we say in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, Oshaka recognized the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So the slave trader, Newton, he renounced and sought to abolish the powerful institution of slavery. So the question naturally arises, did Oshaka now renounce his power? No, he didn't. Didn't renounce his power. You think he would learn, but he did not he did the opposite. Instead of renouncing his power, he decided to exercise even more of it, much more power. Power that has had consequences really beyond calculation. I think you might agree later on as we learn more about this story. Now, at this point in human history, about 2,200 years ago, if there was anywhere on earth you would have wanted to live, it probably would have been the Mauryan Empire, because now Oshaka did everything he could to make his realm as heavenly as possible for all his citizens. And this is not how history is supposed to work. All of a sudden, having a saintly person who loves everyone land on the throne when that same saintly person was not so saintly a couple of years ago. It actually, if you read about it, it sounds like a fairy tale, but it actually happened. And now the emperor used all his power with one object in mind. He wanted to promote the well-being of his subjects. It's stunning to read and inspiring to read about Oshaka's humanitarian endeavors to protect women and children, his hospitals for people. He even had hospitals for animals, the wonderful parks he built and the fruit orchards he planted, and the way he got out to meet the people and relieve their sufferings and share the teachings that would help create a compassionate society. Imagine a leader like that. He was wonderful. He really was at this point. So what happened? What happened to Oshaka? Simply put, he fell in love. Head over heels in love. I think that's the best explanation. And who did he fall in love with? He fell in love with everyone. Everyone? How's that possible? How is it possible to fall in love with everyone? After all, you can't know everyone, so how can you love everyone? This sounds more like an abstract ideal. I love everyone. But maybe not. I don't think you can explain figures like the Buddha and Jesus and Gandhi by saying they were greatly inspired by a great idea. I don't think that quite gets it. I think that people like this are experiencing a sublime state of awareness of our interconnectivity, a higher state of consciousness. They speak of this in the Christian tradition as agape love, to distinguish it from eros and philios love, love for your friends and love for your partner. Agape love for everyone. Boundless compassion is the Buddhist equivalent. And it begins, agape love, boundless compassion, it begins with awareness of a truth affirmed in all great religions and philosophies, that there is something within each one of us that has sacred and inviolable worth. So what's it like to fall into agape love? Well, this is how the 20th century Christian mystic and writer Thomas Merton experienced. He was a monk. Keep in mind, he was a monk. He did a lot of spiritual discipline. And then they sent him on a shopping trip down to Louisville. The Gethsemane, the monastery, is in Kentucky, and he went into Louisville. And then he had an experience, and he wrote about it. And Thomas Merton said, in Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnut, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all these people, that they were mine and I theirs, and that we could not be alien to one another even though we were total strangers. It was like waking from a dream of separateness, of spurious self-isolation in a special world. And Thomas Merton had this realization, and it's the only place in America where a mystical experience has a monument. You want to flash to the next slide, John, if we've got it there? There you go. How about that? That's a monument in Louisville, Kentucky. And that's just what I wrote you about. That's agape, a monument to agape love. I think that's wonderful. How would you describe agape love? I think the Christians did a pretty good job in the book of Corinthians when they described that love is patient. Love is kind. Love, it does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And so, if it is a core conviction residing in both your heart and mind, as it was for Merton, that each person you encounter bears the imprint of the divine, the sacred mystery, has supreme worth, however you want to put it, if you believe that when you interact with people, however it's best for you to think of the ultimate worth of them, then naturally, you will treat each soul you encounter with the utmost respect and reverence. I love the way the humanist psychologist Carl Rogers put it. He said that he had an unconditional positive regard for everyone. An unconditional positive regard for everyone. What an idea. What a way to go around living, having an unconditional positive regard for everyone. I love that. There is no doubt, it doesn't happen maybe often enough, but the human heart can almost certainly slip over into this realm where you feel unconditional love for other people. The Buddha, I know, felt it, and he advised us. The Buddha said, like a mother who protects her child, her only child, with her own life, one should cultivate a heart of unlimited love and compassion toward all living beings. And so Ashoka took this to heart, and it changed his heart. And the impact of this change affected all who lived within his realm. But you know, that Mauryan Empire, it's an empire that most folks don't even know once existed. Like all the great empires of the past, this one has crumbled into dust. Ashoka is hardly remembered outside of select Buddhist circles, but it was never his intention to seek some kind of immortality, personal immortality. Nevertheless, even though that empire has collapsed and you don't remember Ashoka, or maybe you never even knew about him, his influence is still incalculable, because Buddhism, which until Ashoka's time was a small sect confined to particular localities, he saw this is a great thing. We need to spread this. And he spread it throughout India and beyond the frontiers of the country. And if it had not been for him, scholars say there's a chance that Buddhism might not have spread, and the great Buddhist teachings and practices that have so greatly enriched so many people might be unknown. So Ashoka, he didn't only just love the people within his realm, he supported Buddhist missions in far-flung places that enabled the teachings to flourish. And so that is how he used his power now, the power of love, a power that has blessed humankind. Agape love, boundless compassion for all beings. What's not to like about this? Well, there's a problem. There's a big problem that we have to solve before we get there. Huge, huge problem. The question inevitably arises: either it'll come from within you or it'll come from somebody else when we talk about love like this, agape love and boundless compassion. Well, what about those who do great harm? How can you send your love to those who have hated and harmed? That's a tough one. Consider the case of Boethius. Boethius, he lived back in the late ancient Roman times after the Western Roman Empire had collapsed. Boethius, what a great soul. He was a great soul. He was a brilliant and a principled senator, a scholar and a Christian philosopher. He translated many of the Greek classics into Latin, and in those translations actually helped ensure that Aristotle was preserved for Western society. He was really a great soul, Boethius, and a scholar. But tragically, it was his adherence to principle that ensured that this very good man would meet a very painful and untimely end. He worked in the court of King Theodoric, which was riddled with corruption, which Boethius denounced. And this earned him powerful enemies, and eventually the king had him imprisoned because he had done the right thing. It was a horrendous betrayal all around. So imagine how Boethius must have felt towards his enemies. I can well imagine I would have been tempted to hate and despise those whose greed and cruelty had landed you in the dungeon and that you were going to be killed. But Boethius could not ignore the teachings of Jesus. He had heard, love your enemies, but he couldn't figure out how to make that happen, love your enemies. And so he had to think very, very deeply. Boethius, he had imbibed the wisdom of the Greek and the Roman Stoics as well as the Christian tradition. And he sat in his prison cell thinking about all of this before he knew he was going to be tortured and executed. And he finally figured it out before he died. And he wrote in that book that he produced, The Consolation of Philosophy, he said, "Among wise people, there is no place at all left for hatred. Among wise people, there is no place at all left for hatred. For no one except the greatest of fools would hate good men, and there is no reason for hating the bad, no reason at all for hating the bad. For just as weakness is a disease of the body, so is wickedness a disease of the mind. And if this is so, since we think of people who are sick in body as deserving of sympathy rather than hatred, much more so do they deserve pity rather than blame, who suffer an evil more severe than any physical illness. That's quite a reflection coming from a man who was about to be killed by people who had betrayed him. This is a big challenge, isn't it? Figuring out how to love people that are not so lovable. And I have found that one of the greatest extended treatises on how to love one's enemies, it comes from the 9th century Buddhist poet sage Shantideva. He wrote the book, The Way of the Bodhisattva. It's the Dalai Lama's favorite book. And Shantideva looked at those who were hating and hurting, and he said, may those whose hell it is to hate and hurt be turned into lovers, bringing flowers. May those whose hell it is to hate and hurt be turned into lovers, bringing flowers. That's the transformation he sought in them. You discover along the way, if you are on the way, that love is subtle and it's wise, and it will find a way to manifest in the world. And if you pay attention, you will realize that one way love manifests in the world is through you exercising your power. Most folks have much more of it than they realize. Too often, some look back in regret and ask why they did not exercise this power, especially the power of love, when they could. You actually do change the world around you when you interact with people in the spirit of agape love. People respond very well to kindness and generosity and caring and genuine concern. People respond well to that. People respond well when they recognize that you recognize their inherent worth and dignity, that you respect it. And then they are moved to show their respect in return, and this spreads. It spreads, I think, mostly undercover, undetected by the purveyors of division and discord. But it's spreading. It is. I spread it, and you spread it too, and I see you doing it, so don't deny it. You're spreading love. You're spreading love. And who knows how this is going to turn out? The French renegade theologian Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, he says he knows how it's going to turn out, and maybe he's right. He wrote, someday after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides and gravities, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for the second time in the history of the world, humankind will have discovered fire. Let's keep looking for the fire. We're on a quest for fire. Would you join me in a period of quiet reflection? Each day of your life is a precious gift. Each day you have an opportunity to use your power. How might you use it today? Is there some child that needs a smile? Is there somebody who needs a hug? Is there somebody who needs a generous tip or a compliment? Is there somebody who needs, for once, to not be judged, but to be accepted for who they are? Let us focus our minds and our hearts on walking this path day by day. Let us have faith that we are changing the world little by little as we use our power, as we use our powers of love and compassion. May it be so. Amen.
We support UUCS through our pledges, time, and connections. And each month, we choose an organization to help support. For the month of February, we're supporting the Marion Polk Food Share. Marion Polk Food Share brings people together to end hunger in the communities of Marion Polk counties. They help local community members collect and distribute nutritious food for children, adults, and seniors. They work with more than 100 partner programs, including food pantries, meal sites, and home-delivered meals, and they carry out their programs to address the root causes of hunger. And guess who here at UUCS was the main supporter of the Marion Polk Food Share? Lorraine Stewart. Even into her 90s, she was weekly driving the food that we donated to their sites. So may we continue her practice for the many years. As Mahatma Gandhi said, there's enough food on this planet for everyone's needs, but not for everyone's greed. The Marion Polk Food Share tries to live that statement. Please help them by giving what you can. If you are here in person, you may donate to them with food by putting it in the little red wagon. You may donate monetary donations that will be passed in bags amongst you, or you may visit the website to donate. Thank you so much for your love you give to the community of Salem.
I do hope you'll be here next Sunday. It's we'll be launching our annual stewardship campaign for the life and the ministry of this congregation. There's going to be a lot of good energy around, and I hope you'll be here for that. So please do show up next Sunday. George Pitter was reminding you that there is a compassionate connection ceremony, it's just gathering. If you are going through a really hard time right now and you're feeling bereft, why don't you join us up here? And we'll just take a few moments. We just connect with each other. It's a good thing to do. Let's see, what other announcements do I have to share with you this Sunday? I think that's pretty much it. If you will look into your website, our website, you'll see that we have other activities and programs on an ongoing basis, and for me to get down into the weeds and describe them here is not necessary, so I'll let you guys do that. But I do hope you get involved in all the programs that we offer. That's good enough. Thanks.
Rick gets the social justice candle and lights it with the light of our chalice. Let us remember that we carry this light into the world in our works that we do with everybody, every day of our lives. And as we extinguish the chalices, these words from Jack Cornfield. When you learn to step back and become the loving awareness itself, the loving witness, then you become a model of how to live this magnificent and troubled human incarnation. You bring your heart to what matters.
Please stand in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 1053 in the Teal hymnal, How Could Anyone? And we'll sing it through twice. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Please join me in saying our closing words. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.